Hi everyone, it's Roger and Jeremy here from What's on Disney Plus. In this video, we are going to be talking all about Miracle, which is available on Disney Plus. Now, this is a movie I'm going to be honest, I had never seen. This was Jeremy's pick of something to watch, and as I know, he's kind of a sports fan. So this one was originally released way back in 2004 and stars Kurt Russell getting ready a team for the Olympic Games in 1980. And very different. To be honest, I didn't know what to expect going into it. I was going in completely blind. All I knew was that thumbnail. It wasn't kind of what I was expecting. But Jeremy, what do you think of Miracle?
uh as an American, it hits me right where I'm at because of you know pride in the country and everything. But what really hits me is I actually did in college. I did a report on the actual events that led up to it, from the Cold War
Mm.
into the tensions and that. And when I saw the movie, I was shocked because you always see based on a true story, but there's some things that are obviously there. And while there are some in this movie, it's amazing how many of them are accurate to what actually happened. It is one of the most accurate I've ever seen, um, just based off of what we know. And the hockey's fine. It's good. They smart thing is they got hockey players and taught them how to act instead of trying to teach actors how to play hockey, which always works out not very well. And then Kurt Russell, guy could still just steal the scenes all the time. He's amazing.
Right. Okay. So see, this is a couple of things because, like, literally knowing because there wasn't actually because first off, yeah, the ice hockey obviously was very well done. I hadn't realized they were actually real because I was kind of like, I don't recognize any of these actors. So that might be why now. But also, the tone of it was very much more. It was a very serious movie. There was no gags, there was no jokes. There was very, very strict and serious. And yeah, you could just tell. I was wondering whether or not they like you reuse the commentary from the games over it because it felt very authentic.
No, they actually brought Al Michaels back in, and they transcribed all of the things he said from a tape of the game, and he recorded them in a sound studio. All of that, with the exception of that last 6 seconds where he says the famous, well, famous over here, "Do you believe in miracles?"
Yeah,
line. They use the actual line from the broadcast for that
yeah,
because he's like, I can't recapture the energy I had on that night.
yeah. I mean, I obviously as a non-American, I'll be honest. I didn't care if you won or lose. It didn't really
Yeah.
matter to me. And there was a whole thing of like Russia versus America. I mean, it was really kind of at the height of that point anyway. And the whole idea of the Olympics still kind of being non-commercial. Like whereas now it's so commercial and everyone uses the Olympics as a stepping stone for their professional career.
Oh yeah.
And that's kind of everyone. Every Olympian over here, the minute they win a gold medal, they then get a TV show and a number of presenting jobs. That's kind of like how it
Yeah.
seems to work.
Same
So I
here.
kind of, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a movie I would just watch. To be honest, if you hadn't have mentioned it, I think I probably never would have watched it. It was a movie that was never on my radar. I would have just flicked through, oh yeah, sports movie, and just kind but I did enjoy it. I mean, there was a certain aspects of going, they're gonna, because I didn't even, I went in totally blind. I didn't even know if they'd actually won. I'm guessing they did, but so the entire thing, oh, they won. It was still a surprise.
Oh yeah, I saw this movie in theaters way back in '04, and as I'm they're in the game with Russia or the Soviet Union as they were then, and I'm just saying, I'm like, what's happening next? And I'm like, I already know that Mike Eruzione scores the game-winning goal,
Yeah.
and so it was just that was to me, it's like that's how you know it's a good movie. It's got you invested on what
Mm.
happens there, and it does mention the end. The crazy thing is, even winning that game, they still had another game to play, which people often forget. They think that was the gold medal game. And if the Americans had lost the next game, they wouldn't have even gotten the bronze. They would have been out of the medals. So
Yeah.
they still had to win another big game that people forget about.
Yeah, and I like to say it was a very interesting movie. What really got me was Kurt Russell. I mean, he was very. I mean, it's that kind of weird thing of this seemed like it where he was trying to transition into being into an older role because obviously he'd been in lots of the movies before as the hero, but he was so much old. He felt so much older in this, considering how old the movie actually is.
Yeah. And then he also felt, I saw an interview where he's talking about, he felt an onus to really nail that. He really hoped he nailed the role. He was doing his best to play Herb
Mm.
Brooks, the coach. and then tragically Brooks was killed in a car crash during post-production.
Mm.
And so Russell talked about how he was worried right up until he saw the premiere. He's like, I hope I lived up to this guy's legacy, because he's never going to see it now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought as a whole, I mean, just the way he was, like, you know, he had the idea of what he wanted for that team, and he was manipulating them to do what he needed to, of the idea of giving up on the team in your city and becoming a team in itself, which I thought, that whole idea of make them all hate you so they all come together and bond. I mean, it's such a weird way of doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of, again, if that whole thing of not being fully aware of like regional sports and stuff. I know how Americans take it more seriously,
Right.
but it's that thing of like when over here, like when England joins together, they all tend to, that. But I think in the US is a little bit different at that time in the 1980s.
Yeah, especially with they gloss over it at the beginning, but in college hockey, which I don't follow closely, but I know that in college hockey, the University of Minnesota, where Herb Brooks coached, and Boston University had a massive rivalry, and they referenced that where two of the players hated each other because they were on opposing sides of a national championship game, and now they had to be teammates, and got into the big fight where he setting that in motion. And then I did see something where they're like, Herb really told his assistant coaches that he wanted all of them to hate him so they'd be too busy to hate each other.
Yeah, I mean, for me, again, coming in blind, that helped. I got the gist of what they were going at, which is what that movie needed to do, because sometimes they have a tendency to kind of assume that
Yeah.
and especially with I think that's the whole thing, like with American movies, with sports and Disney love making these kind of movies. They always have done. They've always generally in some ways cheap to make. They are interesting stories that they can do. They don't tend to do as well globally, but the budgets are in relation to how much they're expecting to take. They're not expecting massive amounts. And obviously Disney Plus is allowing them to kind of go back and relive this a little bit, because they all kind of dropped off for a while. And we're starting to see a recurrence of this. Personally as well, like with the Mighty Ducks game changes on at the minute, with the ice hockey and stuff. I just feel like this was actually a pretty good idea of just something to watch around this time of, rather than the Mighty Ducks. It was so much more of a different tone and a different way of looking at ice. I enjoyed it. I got to the end of it and I was like, because at first I thought, oh god, like 2+ hours about ice hockey.
It goes faster than you think, though.
Yeah, and I kind of got to the end. I was like, I got to. I'm really glad I saw that one. I'm never going to watch it again. I'll be totally honest.
I just watched it last year and reviewed it.
And I was just, yeah.
I watch it around the 4th of July every year. Or I think I watched it last year because last year was actually the 40th anniversary of that team's run. But I usually watch it around the 4th of July because I like it better than Hamilton.
Yeah, it's just like I said, it was just like it was a really, I do think it was a great pick for just something that was completely outside of. And sometimes I find Disney have got so many little gems and things that are hidden in the. And now a lot of Americans might be going, well, this is a big movie. Internationally, this isn't. This is not on any radar. This was probably barely even shown. So it's always fun just to go in and sort of check out what I would call this as a little bit of a hidden gem. But anything else you want to add about this movie?
Well, they actually filmed it in Canada, and Kurt Russell mentioned it's amazing. They got an entire arena full of Canadians to chant USA there at the end.
Yeah, it's always that kind of thing. I just really enjoyed it. I mean, having the crowd together, it's that kind of weird thing, because I'm going. There was a number of occasions where I actually thought it was filmed like in the 80s because of how it looked. It looked very authentic, and it was only really afterwards and we go, oh, it wasn't. It was like filmed in the 2000s. And I thought they did that very well, of like the visual aspect to it and the setting and all the rest of it, which I think it kind of played into that a little bit more. It didn't feel like I was watching a modern movie, even though, I mean, it's like 16, 17 years old now, but it didn't feel like a modern-ish movie.
And if if you want to see this plot in a childlike development, the second Mighty Ducks movie is exactly this plot. They literally took this story, put it in kid gloves, and made the sequel to the Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, no, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed watching it, and I would recommend it. If you're enjoying the Mighty Ducks Game Changers, maybe try this one out, see if you've never seen it before. And obviously, if you have seen it before, just put it on your radar of maybe something to watch again. But we'd love to hear your thoughts on this movie in the comments below. Remember as well, you can go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. You can like, follow, and subscribe on all the different audio and visual platforms like Spotify, YouTube, etc. Join us over on our Facebook group. And just as a quick note as well, if you are a Patreon or a YouTube channel member, you get early access to these episodes, and we shall see you guys in another episode. Laters.
Later.